everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my personal review on a cozy game called Fae Farm. Now, a quick disclaimer before we get started, I am in no way, shape, or form being paid to promote this game or say strictly positive things about it. Everything I will be saying in this video is my personal opinion. And without further ado, let's get started. First things first, let's talk about the game concept. If you are unfamiliar with Fae Farm is a cozy, magical-themed fairy farm sim. You can do things such as going mining, fishing, decorating your homestead, you can go questing, you can even do crafting and cooking. Overall, Fae Farm stands out from the crowd for me. There is, as of right now in late 2023, an overwhelming amount of farm sims out there, and Fae Farm to me still manages to stand out and feel unique. A few features that I personally think make Fae Farm stand out is all of the fairy magical elements, the character customization, and being able to see where all the individual characters are on the map. This makes for questing, where you specifically have to repeatedly talk to characters, significantly easier, especially when you don't know where anything is on the map yet. Next, let's talk about the characters in Fae Farm. The characters in Fae Farm, in terms of their appearances, vary quite a lot, which I think is wonderful. However, their dialogue can feel quite repetitive at times. Now, don't get me wrong, there are different things that the characters can say to you. However, there's not a lot of them. They tend to repeat themselves quite a bit, and this isn't necessarily a deal breaker for me personally, but I will admit it does get kind of frustrating sometimes not having a whole wide variety of things that they can say to you. This, for me personally, is not really that big of a deal. Definitely kind of annoying sometimes, but it's not really a deal breaker. Overall, aside from that one detail, I honestly really do like the NPCs. Next, let's talk about the game mechanics. When it comes to the game mechanics, there is one thing in particular right off the bat that I want to mention. I don't know if anybody else feels the same, but for me personally, the movement in the game can feel kind of rigid or like a bit rough sometimes. And what I mean by that is, let's say, just for an example, let's say you're walking around and you accidentally bump into something. Maybe it's like part of a fence or like an object that's on the ground as part of the general decor of the map. Let's say you bump into it by mistake, and instead of just being stopped and not really being able to move any farther like you're really supposed to, it kind of feels like your character is attempting to just climb on top of it or walk through it or walk on it, run on it, something in that way where you're just interacting it in a way that you're not really maybe supposed to. And that movement, instead of being smooth where you just stop at the thing that's in your way, when your character feels like it's climbing on it, that just feels like maybe that part of the game was a bit unfinished. It just doesn't feel as smooth as it should. Again, another situation where it's not really a deal breaker, but it does get very annoying sometimes. Now, in terms of actually just walking around itself, you have the standard WASD keys if you're playing on PC, and if you're a player on Switch, you just use the joysticks on your Joy-Cons. For tool selection in Fae Farm, their system is honestly super convenient, and I really like it, and I honestly think a lot of other games need to consider this factor whenever they're in development. So let's say that you go up to a rock on your farm and you want to break this rock. Your game, once it senses that you're near a rock, will select the pickaxe for you, and let's say after that rock you want to go chop down a nearby tree. So you go up to the tree, and it will realize that you're near this tree and select the axe for you. This makes utilizing your tools in Fae Farm so unbelievably convenient and simple, and I'm obsessed. There is one more thing about the game mechanics that does really upset me, honestly. It's still not necessarily a deal breaker, but I will say it is very upsetting, just if I'm being honest with you. So when you go into the mines, whatever kind of mining area that you're in, whenever you go there, let's say for whatever reason that you have, you need to pause the screen for a moment. So if you put up like your inventory screen or like the other pause, or just some sort of screen to pause the time, it will pause the time. However, you will not be protected from enemies. Typically, whenever you pause a game like that, it'll pause the time and pause whatever it is that's going on around you, and everything just stays frozen until you unpause it, right? But no, in Fae Farm, it'll pause your time, but you are still unfortunately left vulnerable to attacks from the enemies. Let's say I do that because maybe somebody's talking to me and I want to respond to them without really losing progress in the game or having the time progress. Those enemies will still walk right up to me and deplete my health if I'm not paying attention, which is honestly very aggravating. And overall, for my final thoughts about Fae Farm, I really do like it. There are that small handful of things I do find very aggravating and or annoying to some extent sometimes, but they aren't deal breakers for me. And personally, would I recommend Fae Farm to another person? Yes, I absolutely would. However, one thing in particular about the dialogue that I said earlier in this video about how it can feel kind of repetitive sometimes, if that is a very big important factor for you when it comes to selecting a game to play, if that's a really big important thing for you, maybe then I wouldn't suggest Fae Farm. But aside from that, Yes, I would absolutely suggest it. It is an adorable game, and there is more than one platform to choose to play it on. I really like it, and I would suggest it if you like cozy games. With that being said, thank you so much for watching my video. I really, really appreciate it. Be sure to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time for another video. Bye, everyone!